Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a deep dive into a topic that's sparking a lot of debate, really, especially within creative communities, the
Yeah,
impact of AI-generated images on human artists. And we're going to filter this complex issue specifically through a recent BBC article reporting from Jersey.
that's right. And what's interesting looking at it through this specific source is how it kind of brings this huge global conversation right down to a local level. It
Mm-hmm.
shows it's not just abstract tech stuff. It's about people, their jobs, their joy in creating,
Yeah, their livelihoods.
exactly, and how we value human skill versus machine output. The
Hmm.
source gives us different views, so it's definitely not black and white.
Absolutely. So our mission for this deep dive is really to pull out the key insights from this source for you, our listener. We want to understand the artist's concerns, look at the other side AI as maybe a tool, and see what the bigger picture is that the article mentions.
Let's get into it,
So the article really puts the artists' voices front and center. It starts with Abby Overland. She's an artist in Jersey, and she's been pretty public about how she feels.
right?
She uses the word heartbreak, actually, watching the effects of AI images on the creative scene there.
And that feeling, that heartbreak, it stems from some very specific worries laid out in the piece. She mentions copyright infringement, for one.
Uh-huh. The worry that AI is being trained on existing art, maybe without permission.
Exactly. And then there's the direct economic fear
Yeah.
that AI images are literally stopping creatives from getting paid work.
Right. That makes sense. If a company can just, generate an image super fast, why hire someone? She also brings up what this means for younger people, like just starting out.
Yeah, how do you break into an industry that's changing so fast?
Mm-hmm.
And as she puts it, this sort of normalization of AI-generated images popping up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And a really big part of her concern, which the article points out, is where the AI gets its material, the fact that it's trained on the work of other artists.
Yeah, that feels fundamental.
It really gets to the heart of the copyright thing. And that feeling that, their own past work is being used to basically create competition for them now.
There's a quote from her in the article that really hits hard. She says, "This is our livelihoods, this is our joy, so why would we want to take away the human connection of art to save some money?"
Wow. Yeah.
It really frames it as being about more than just the image itself. It's the process, the human element.
That human connection point is strong. And the article also brings in Jamie Willow, another artist, an illustrator from Jersey. She echoes a lot of what Abby says.
Okay.
She's apparently seen this shift herself, noting like a definite rise in local businesses there using AI images.
And she stresses the value of human skill, right?
But
Points out that illustration is something they've spent years harnessing.
yes, exactly. And that their work isn't just making pictures, it translates ideas into images with heart.
With heart, that's a key phrase, isn't it? It suggests something intrinsic, maybe,
Yeah.
something AI might find hard to replicate.
I think so. And she expresses a hope, really, for the audience, the consumer. Hopes people will ultimately prize authentic, morally produced content above the cheap, quick, and easy AI art, which is trending online.
That puts the onus on us then, on the people commissioning or just looking at images.
Yeah, to think about the source, the ethics behind it.
And Abby Overland adds this really striking contrast, kind of highlighting the time and effort involved from the artist's view. She notes her hand-drawn illustrations can take years.
Years. Wow.
Years to finish. Compare that to AI spitting out images in seconds. It just throws the difference in investment, time and dedication into sharp relief.
That contrast is stark, isn't it? Years versus seconds.
Yeah.
It really makes you ask what we value more, just the final image or the whole human journey behind it.
A difficult question.
Now, the source, it doesn't just give us the artist's concerns. It does present another angle.
Okay, yeah. It introduces Sebastian Lawson. He's the head of innovation at Digital Jersey. And his basic argument seems to be that actually AI-generated images could help people in the creative field.
Yeah, his perspective is more about opportunity, perhaps.
Yeah.
He hopes people will use this new tech to improve their work, not necessarily replace it.
And he makes an interesting point. He says artists still create better images than you or I could create because they've got that creative insight.
Mm-hmm. So even with AI in the mix, he's suggesting that human creativity, that special spark, is still kind of superior.
Right. The insight matters.
He also makes a broader observation, noting that across the board, you're seeing image generation is becoming quite powerful and useful. He's acknowledging the tech's capability.
So his view frames AI less as a rival and more like, what, an assistant? A new kind of paintbrush, maybe?
That seems to be the idea, viewing it as an enhancement. Maybe it speeds things up, helps with brainstorming, opens new doors,
Uh-huh.
rather than just being a threat that totally replaces the artist's skill and vision. It's about leveraging the tech.
Okay. And these concerns, these debates happening locally in Jersey, the article points out they're actually echoing much bigger discussions in the UK, right?
Yeah, it connects it to the national level.
Hmm.
It mentions the House of Lords recently took action. They handed the UK government a second defeat on its data bill.
A second defeat. And why was that?
Well, according to the source, the Lords are pushing for more protection for artists and musicians, specifically from AI's impact.
Ah, okay. So the worries from artists like Abby and Jamie, they're definitely being heard, or at least debated, at that higher level.
Seems so. And the article also gives the UK government's position, just stating the facts here. A spokesperson is quoted saying they want both the creative industries and AI companies to flourish.
Okay, the balancing act.
Right. And they say they're consulting on a package of measures, trying to find something that works for everyone, hopefully.
And critically on the copyright point, which we know is huge for artists.
Yes, the spokesperson explicitly says no changes to copyright law would be considered unless we are completely satisfied they work for creators.
So that's a stated commitment, at least in the article, to protecting creators there while they figure things out.
It certainly shows how complex it is for governments, doesn't it? Trying to foster innovation, but also protect the people whose work might be, well, affected or even used by that innovation. It's happening everywhere AI meets creativity.
So let's try and pull this together from the BBC piece then. We've heard the very real, heartfelt concerns from artists like Abby Overland and Jamie Willow.
Yeah.
Worries about their jobs, about copyright issues with AI training data, this normalization of AI stuff, and the feeling that years of human skill are being, well, maybe devalued.
But then you have the other perspective presented from Sebastian Lawson at Digital Jersey, seeing AI images as a potentially powerful and useful tool.
Right, something creatives could use to enhance their work because that human insight is still key.
Exactly.
And this whole local picture fits into the wider UK scene with lawmakers debating protections and the government trying to navigate this path between supporting creators and AI development.
And what this article really captures so well, I think, by focusing on these different voices, is how this tech is forcing us all to reconsider some pretty fundamental things.
Like what?
Like, what is creativity? Where's the real value? Is it just the picture at the end, or is it the human effort, the skill, the intention behind it?
And ownership, copyright.
And ownership, absolutely. How do you protect that when machines can learn from and mimic human work so effectively?
So thinking about our listener, what does this all mean for you? Well, whether you're a creator yourself or maybe someone who hires artists or runs a business using images or even just someone who enjoys art and visuals online. This deep dive into the source really shows this isn't just some abstract tech story. It directly impacts the images you see, the effort and ethics behind them, how creative work gets valued, how it gets paid for,
Yeah.
and ultimately what kind of creative content thrives in the future.
It definitely makes you look at the images around us a bit differently, doesn't it?
It really does. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the BBC article, here's maybe a final thought for you to chew on.
Okay.
If AI can make an image in seconds that looks like something a human spent years creating, does that change how you value that image? And looking ahead, as AI images become even more common, how will you decide what kind of creative work you want to support and why? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.